Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be talking about your guys' personal funny church stories. So let's get right into it. First up, we have this one. It says, there was once a guy who came regularly to our church, which was quite a polite place, and he was a little mentally challenged. Not insane, just somewhat simple. I don't think you could say that anymore. Just be careful. One day he came to the service with no trousers on. We can't have that. I asked him why, and he said he got a sunburn on his legs. He was wearing quite formal clothes, just no trousers. Bless him. So this guy came to your church and he's wearing like a suit and tie and just no pants? I don't know what there is to say about that. But first and foremost, you can't just call people simple anymore. I think we're past that. I think mentally challenged, you were on the right track, but we can't just call people simple. Come on, this isn't 1910. Next up, this one is titled Grab the Dictionary. Just starting out in ministry, 20 years. I was just starting out in ministry. I was 20 years old. I was teaching a Sunday school class through one of the books of the Old Testament. I had a middle school homeschooled girl ask what circumcision was. Now, what I should have done was tell her to ask her parents. You're correct. That's what you should have done. I don't know what you did next, but you shouldn't have done whatever you're going to do next, because I tell you what, just tell the parents, hey, she wants to know what circumcision is because it's mentioned in the Bible like 197 times. So maybe get the parents involved. Let's keep going. Taken aback for a moment, I spotted a dictionary on the shelf in the back. No. I grabbed the dictionary and read the dictionary definition. Pretty much lost the room for the rest of the time. Yeah, you kind of do lose the rest of the room when you tell a group of middle school girls what circumcision is. Like, I understand you're trying to explain the context of the Bible, but sometimes when they're little kids, maybe just let the parents cover that. All right? Awesome. Let's go to the next one. See what we got. My pastor was telling a story about preparing his son for the school Thanksgiving play, and said his son was playing the part of Sasquatch. Sasquatch is wild. He meant Squanto. I don't know what Squanto is. Is Squanto the name of like an Indian that was a Native American? Sorry, that was at the Thanksgiving dinner. I don't know. He made the mistake several times and never corrected himself. I laughed fairly loud, thinking he was joking, but no one else in the congregation caught the slip. The pastor went on with the story, and I spent the rest of the sermon suppressing my laughter from imagining the Pilgrims encountering Bigfoot in Massachusetts. Yo, he made the mistake several times and no one in the congregation caught the slip up. I get it. One time, pastor says Sasquatch instead of Squanto. Usually the pastor would kind of make a joke about, oh, I meant Squanto. I didn't mean Sasquatch. Bigfoot wasn't at Thanksgiving dinner with the Pilgrims. But the fact that he made the mistake several times and no one else caught it is bananas. There's no Bigfoot at the Pilgrim Thanksgiving. What's next? This one's titled, I love the titled ones. Donkey is what it's titled. As the pastor, I was giving the welcome announcements to begin our service. Okay, let's put a time out here. Can we shorten announcement times at church? Because they hand out the bulletin, they have the bulletin posted, and usually there's also like slides before church that are on the screen that show you the announcements as well. You have 3 modes of announcements, and then they spend half an hour of the service on the announcements. I don't care about ladies' bunko night. I don't care about the guys' fishing trip. Can we just do the worship? Can we hear the gospel and then get back to it? I'm sick of half-hour announcement services. And now my pastor's probably going to think this is targeted. Like, I understand why, to get people involved, but let's shorten it. Let's shorten it. Let's lengthen the sermon. Let's lengthen the worship. Announcements need to be shortened. Anyways, as the pastor, I was giving the welcome and announcements to begin our service. It was Palm Sunday, so I was briefly sharing how Jesus rode into town on a donkey, to which I inquired to the audience if anyone had come to church on a donkey. Pastor's trying to, get the room flowing, make it a little interactive. A reply came from a woman in the audience. She points to her husband and says, "No, but I came with one." Hilarious. This guy's got the same name as me, David. Okay, that's funny. Pastor's trying to make it interactive. Didn't anybody ride into town on a donkey? And I just imagine it's an 80-year-old woman named Eustace with like the big glasses with the long chains. And she's like, no, but I came in with one. Like, I love it. I'm praying. And David, the one that wrote this, if you happen to be watching this, which I doubt it because not very many people do, but if you happen to be watching this, please let me know if this was an old 80-year-old granny named Eustace. I have to know. And specifically, I really want to know if she's from New York or New Jersey, because I would just love that East Coast. No, but I came in with one. Next up, this one's titled Deuteronomy 23:1. I was preaching about law versus grace. It's a great topic to preach about. And used Deuteronomy 23:12 through 14 as an example for crazy laws. One of the students genuinely volunteered before service to read the passage out loud. When it came time to read, he misunderstood what verse I said to begin with and just started at verse 1. I lost all attention for the rest of service. Deuteronomy 23:1 definitely shouldn't be read out loud in a youth group. And this is what Deuteronomy 23:1 says. No one whose testicles are crushed or whose male organ is cut off shall enter the assembly of the Lord. Maybe you should make it clear and write it down for a kid to read from Deuteronomy, because there's a lot of crazy stuff in the Old Testament, especially in the Pentateuch, which is the first 5 books of the Bible. There's a lot of stuff about cutting stuff off, a lot of stuff about circumcision. I mean, that's also cutting stuff off. A lot of stuff. You got to make sure that what the kid's going to read out loud in a youth group is definitely what it should be, because 23:1 is a lot worse than 23:14. Obviously, the whole Bible should be read, but maybe out loud by a kid. Make sure that they know for sure what verse they're reading. Moving on. Okay, if kids are still in the room, they might want to leave for this one because this one's got a crazy title. I'll give you guys 10 seconds to get kids out of the room. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Don't say I didn't warn you. Here's the crazy title of this one. The Day Santa Died. I was on staff at a church where one year we held a special Christmas family service. We decided to have all of the children sit with their parents during the message. This is very common. My church has family services too. The service went well and everyone seemed to be enjoying the drama, the games, and the Christmas music. I love Christmas time at church so much. Then it came time for the sermon to begin. With a burst of enthusiasm, my pastor begins his message with the line, I remember how old I was when I found out that Santa wasn't real. It's probably a rough idea to start out a sermon with, I remember how old I was when I found out Santa wasn't real. First of all, Saint Nick was a real guy. Let's swipe that under the rug. He was there at the Council of Nicaea debating the Trinity. Real guy, punched a heretic. It was awesome. Obviously, over the years, folklore and stuff adds to it, and then now we have big fat Santa dressed like Coca-Cola. Whatever. Anyways, the pastor had forgotten that the children were in service and spilled the beans to everyone. I'll be honest, it was just a little funny to see all of the parents lunge toward their children, covering their ears in a frenzy. For those who weren't able to distract their little ones, the effects were instant. A few of the kids gazed at the stage in disbelief. Other turned to their parents in deep sadness. Yeah, it's deep sadness because you're coming to church to get some enthusiasm, some light, and some life, and you're 6 years old, and they're like, Santa's not real, and now you got to live with that for the rest of your life. You only know Santa's real for a little bit of time, and then you move on. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of Christians in the comments that'll probably debate whether or not you should have Santa and shouldn't have Santa. Guess what? It's not a big deal. I know a lot of people will say you shouldn't let the Santa thing happen because, if you let the Santa thing happen, then when they find out Santa's not real, they're going to doubt the Bible. I'll just say this. I never doubted God's existence when I found out Santa wasn't real. My wife never doubted God's existence when she found out Santa wasn't real. My son, my 10-year-old son, just found out Santa's not real, never doubted God's existence. I think that if you're worried about your kids falling away from faith because they find out Santa Claus isn't real, then you haven't built up the faith enough around your kids. But I'll let you parent. Let's move on with the fun stuff. Yeah, it's also one of the ones that probably scarred kids the most. Let's not do that. Let's not scar kids. Next up, this one is titled, be ready, Sex. For 15 years of student ministry, I've had the sex talk in my preaching calendar. Time out. Student ministry, hoping this is like high school youth group age, because little kids, probably not necessary. And yes, it's a difficult conversation. when you are going to preach about sex, you should ask the parents of the youth group if they have had the talk with their kids as well, because, and then get their consent to preach about it, because this is a touchy subject. So I don't think that youth pastors should stray away from preaching about sex. I do think that they should make sure that the kids who attend their youth group regularly, that you've talked to their parents and seen if their parents are okay with it first. So, but first and foremost, wanted to get that out of the way. I tried to come up with some really awkward ways of making things less awkward. Read that again. I tried to come up with some really awkward ways of making things less awkward. Hey, I've got an idea. How about just don't make things awkward at all? It's already awkward enough. One of the first things we do each time I preach on sex is to have the students stand up, turn towards wherever the adults are in the building, and scream sex as loud as they can. Hey, don't do that. Bad idea. Then they look at each other and scream sex as loud as they can. Don't have kids scream sex at each other. That's crazy. This guy needs to be put in an insane asylum, or at least like take a break from church and have the senior pastor talk to him and be like, hey, we can't have kids screaming sex at each other. Doesn't look good. Not a good look. Finally, I created an interactive message. Please don't have an interactive message on sex with teenagers. Please don't. Complete with a hand motion that called for the students to blurt out sex each time they saw it. Every time. Yo, this is not going good. This youth pastor needs to be locked up, I think. One fateful Sunday I was preaching in the main service. It was Youth Sunday. Our group of however many students were all sitting in the front on my left, having helped lead worship, done human videos, and basically run every other aspect of service to this point. The only problem was my hand motion for sex was something I did a lot when preaching, and the students picked up on that. Yeah, bad idea. Kids pick up on a lot of stuff. They're kids. They're smart. Apparently, they conspired. As I was preaching to the main congregation, all of a sudden, I heard about 30 plus students yell sex right in the middle of my message. So this was a different Sunday, and the guy did the hand motion because it's something he did a lot. The kids yell sex right in the middle of my message because kids are evil and they conspire. I digress. I have no idea what I was talking about at that point. All I know is adults' faces were colors I didn't know existed. Old people were passed out, and it wasn't the Holy Spirit, and I had some explaining to do mid-message. Yeah, you sure do. How about don't have kids yell sex ever in church? We'll start there. Fortunately, once I explained to our congregation what was going on, they were pretty gracious. Oh yeah, pretty gracious. Yeah, my kid just yelled sex in the middle of the sermon where we're talking about the Holy Spirit descending like a dove onto Jesus Christ. We can't do this. Because pastors like their hand motions. A lot of pastors do this. A lot of pastors do this. Anyways, that concludes this episode. If you like this kind of video, please hop in the comments, let me know, like it, share it, hit the subscribe button. It really helps me out. I'm really trying to build up this channel, have a goal of getting to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Right now, we're about halfway there. So thank you so much for watching. Until next time, God bless.